In this video I'm going to share with you some of my favorite books that have been really transformational and really impactful in my life over the last few months. Now, these books have nothing to do with nutrition, nothing to do with herbs, nothing to do with diet, spring water, none of these things, because I feel like diet, nutrition, things of that nature, things that are, putting in our mouths, putting in our body, that's just one piece of the equation. And if we have some bad programs running in our brain, if we have some false beliefs that block our energy flow, if we have traumas, etc., all of these things, then we're going to need to rely on herbs, we're going to need to rely on extreme dietary measures, really until we can actually get to the root of the problem. So what I'm trying to say is, these books have really helped me to get a lot of clarity and get a lot of empowerment and just let go of a lot of things and move forward with a lot of things that I've been trying to move forward with. So all of these books are by the same author, and her name is Carol K. Anthony, and some of them actually have two authors, which is Hannah Moog, and they've written these books together. So I should start off with the first book, which is kind of the principle that the other books are based on. And this book is called the I Ching, or I Ching, or Yi Ching, depending on whoever you hear it from, whoever says it. And this one is one version called the Oracle of the Cosmic Way. I actually have another version, which is called A Guide to the I Ching, and I actually have on my bookshelf 2 or 3 other versions of the same book. Now, why I like these versions is because they're actually accessible, and you can actually understand what they're trying to say and what they're trying to advise you to do. And these books are things that I consult with pretty much on a daily basis, usually to kind of set the course or tone or energy for the rest of the day, to kind of figure out what I need to focus on and what I need to work on. So you might ask, okay, well, what is the I Ching or the I Ching? How do you use it, and why should I care? So basically, the I Ching is kind of a mirror to our unconscious or our subconscious. So how you use the I Ching is you throw coins to get what's called a hexagram, which you'll see on the front there. These, maybe you can see it, hopefully. I'll get it real close. See those little lines? It's a hexagram, and we'll see right there. So right there you see 29, abyss, danger, whatever, and you see the 6 lines. That's a hexagram. And basically that's a combination of 6 yin or yang lines, or solid or broken lines. So what you do is you throw the coins, you get these lines, and then you look up in the back of the book what the lines are, and you get your hexagram. And then the hexagram has a commentary, and this commentary gives you guidance and insight on the inner workings of a situation. It doesn't say, do this, don't do that, you should do this, you should do that, win the lottery, don't do that, whatever. It's not that clear cut. It's more of a mirror into your own inner truth, your own inner thoughts, and your own inner landscape, which is why it's likened to kind of a mirror for your unconscious or your subconscious. And what you do is you come to it with a question or a situation or something that you're trying to understand and really get a broader picture on. And the I Ching really only works if you can get to a point in your mind where you're humble and you're quiet and receptive, because it's the old Zen, story of the guy who he goes to meet the Zen master, and he's like a scholar, and he just is talking and talking and talking and talking for hours and hours, and they're sitting there having tea. So then at some point his cup's empty, he's had all his tea, so the Zen master starts filling it up, and he's sitting there, and the cup just starts overflowing and overflowing and overflowing, and the guy's like, "What are you doing? Can't you see the cup is full?" And the Zen master is like, "Well, your cup is full too. Obviously you have so much of this head knowledge, so much of this book knowledge, you can't even come to me and actually, have an open mind and be willing to learn and accept anything that I have to say, because you're too busy putting out what you are, quote, already know." So likewise, when we deal with situations, when we deal with events, when we deal with people, we deal with ourselves, we think we already know, we think we already have it figured out. But typically we don't, because if we did, we wouldn't need books, we wouldn't even be sitting back and reflecting or thinking or having any sort of problems or stresses about a situation. So the I Ching really drives home the fact of being humble and really just being open and receptive to, guidance in whatever form it may come, which is the I Ching. And so this is, I could do hours and hours and hours of lecture and talk on just this book, just this text, just how old it is, just how impactful and powerful it is. But the last thing I want to say about it, which can hopefully give you some clarity on just how it is, how it works, is we've all seen the periodic table of elements, right? Calcium, magnesium, all of those different chemical elements which we've seen, and we understand that these are the building blocks of space, of material reality. So much in the same way, these 64 hexagrams are the building blocks of time and things that happen in time. So I know that's a bit heady, but I'll let you chew on that for now, and we can get into that more in future videos. So the second book that's been really good for me, which I'm working on right now, I'm in the middle of it, is called Love and Interconnection, based on principles drawn from the I Ching. Now basically, the author, Carol, was taught by the I Ching, meaning she would interact with it, ask it questions. Is this the correct thing? Am I understanding this correctly? Is this the right principle? Just going back and forth with it in just ways, in methods that I haven't even begun to understand or grasp yet, because they seem to be very deep and intricate. So basically all of her books are coming from the paradigm of the I Ching, coming from the voice of the I Ching that she's been able to kind of distill down from her own work with it, and also from her research and just study of all of the other translations that are out there and haven't been put out since I think the 40s or 50s, maybe earlier, because I think Carl Jung, he wrote the foreword for one of the first, I guess, I can't remember the name at this point, but he wrote a foreword and introduction to one of the versions of the I Ching because he was so into it and because he thought it was such a powerful thing. So, anyways, back to the book. Why I like this book is because it talks about love in the context and from the perspective of the I Ching, which to me is important because I think growing up in America in the time that we have, our references and our ways of understanding love and relationships are generally completely perverted. And what I mean by that is we are influenced by, years of feudalism, years of patriarchal society, years of male-dominant society, on top of that years of, a Christian worldview, on top of that all the media perversions that are put out with ads and MTV and billboards and all these things which screw with our minds. On top of that, we're raised as children and our only references for love are, Saved by the Bell, 90210, the Andy Griffith Show, all of these things. Sure, we have our parents, we have our families, but typically for children, depending on when we grew up, we're spending a lot more time with the TV and really soaking in a lot more time with the TV. And when we go to get in a relationship, those are our reference points. All of the historical information that's been put in our brain on top of all of the crap that we've absorbed from TV. So no wonder we have relationship problems. No wonder we have problems dealing with the opposite sex. And also no wonder we have problems actually learning how to love ourselves. So far this book has been really good. I'm about a third of the way through it. And just the way it's describing love and just shattering some of the myths and, things that were misconstrued around love, especially unconditional love and what it means to really give and receive love. It's been really powerful. So the third book, which I've completed a couple weeks ago, and I'm definitely going to reread because it was so just hard in a lot of ways, but really empowering in a lot of ways too. And this one's called The Psyche Revealed Through the I Ching. And basically what this book does is it starts from just the foundation of all of the false beliefs that we take on from just childhood on about the nature of reality, the nature of ourself, the nature of the universe, the nature of the cosmos, of our relationship to that, our relationship to ourselves, our relationship to other people, how our body works, how life works, all of these things. We're given a false blueprint, which in this worldview, pretty much how it's set up is that, there's the great universal, whatever you want to call it. They call it the Wu Chi, which is where everything comes from. But really, it's just the source of energy. It's what causes our nails to grow, our hair to grow, our heart to keep beating, our lungs to breathe. all these things, just the chi that's feeding our body, wherever it's coming from. So we're getting this chi from somewhere, and it's feeding our body, and it's making us alive, and it's animating us. So what happens is we get these false beliefs, and what they do is we have these channels, we have these tubes. So what they do is these false beliefs go in and just block the energy flow in the channel, so then it has to go around, or maybe it just stagnates and just builds up, and we just, start to get imbalances, and, lose homeostasis, and just things start to manifest. But specifically in this context, we're talking about the psyche. So how the psyche is described and used in this context is kind of the meeting place between, the body and the feeling heart and the thinking mind. It's kind of the meeting ground where all these things are coming together. So what, the mind does is it translates feelings into words that the mind can understand, and on the flip side, the feeling body translates, words and concepts into feelings that, this other part of us can understand. So all these things are interacting and going and coinciding in the psyche. So what happens is we have the false beliefs, we have the false ideas, we have wrong, traumas, we have all these things that happen to us and we take on, and they block energy flow, cause imbalances in the psyche, and then we just live with them. So basically what this book does is just identifies a whole lot of these false beliefs, a whole lot of these complexes and just false ideas and false self-images that we have, as well as gives us ways to deprogram them and let them go, which is ultimately really important, because we can all talk about problems till the end of time, but there's no point unless we can actually offer solutions and strategies and methods to overcome them and solve them and move past them. So that's really why I like this book, because many books about psychology and whatever in this niche just talk about problems and don't really give any real solutions. So that's why I like this book a lot, is because it identifies all these complexes, whether it's like a lack complex or a complex of like having to work hard or having to be lazy, or failure to actually succeed complex, or a guilt complex, or not trusting life, or being a disbeliever, always being the devil in situations, I'm more deserving than you, all these different things, all these different stories and scripts and false programs that we take on that really just create problems and stress in our life. So again, first book is I Ching, The Oracle of the Cosmic Way by Carol K. Anthony and Hannah Moog. Second book is Love and Interconnection, based on principles drawn from the I Ching, again by Carol K. Anthony. And the third book is The Psyche Revealed Through the I Ching by Carol K. Anthony and Hannah Moog. All three are highly, highly recommended. Even this book, A Guide to the I Ching, is highly recommended. Its commentaries for the hexagrams is a little shorter, a little more succinct. So if you just need something quick and easy, that's a great thing to go to. So those are my three favorite books right now, things I'm working with for quite a while. And I think they're important because, sure, they don't have anything to do with herbalism or nutrition, but ultimately the health of our psyche, the health of our belief system, the health of our mental, emotional self is intimately related with our physical self. And if we only focus on what we put in our mouths, we're missing a huge piece of the equation, and we're really just leaving a lot of our own power and a lot of our own choice on the table. And we're really not going to allow ourselves to grow and go where we can go, because we're going to be stuck in first grade because we think diet and nutrition is everything. But in reality, it's just the white belt. It's just first grade. It's just elementary school, when in reality there's, junior high, there's high school, there's college, there's grad school, and there's grad school on top of that, and just on and on and on and on. So we can't get hung up on just one level, and we have to realize there's many other places to grow, many other places to explore. So if you have any questions or comments, post them below, and I'll talk to you soon.